So, you are more self-aware than I thought. Maggie felt her temples contract as her temper flared. Why are you here, Summer? She asked. Didn't your fourth husband pay enough to get rid of you when he divorced you? I wouldn't think outlet sales were your thing. Summer's blood-red lip curled back, and she looked like she wanted to bite Maggie. Count down, Maggie, Ginger said. When Maggie didn't respond, Ginger leaned forward and saw Summer Phillips on the other side of her. Uh-oh, she said. This is bad. Maggie was breathing in through her nose and out through her mouth. Summer Phillips had been the bane of her existence since they were kids. For some reason that Maggie had never fully understood, Summer lived to make her life a misery. She had made sure that Maggie was mocked, picked on, and ridiculed at every possible turn. She had even tried to befriend Ginger, but Ginger had refused, seeing Summer for the devil in spandex that she was. Maggie hadn't seen much of Summer over the past few years, but now here she was, horning in on one of Maggie's ultimate joys, a sale. Well, she was darned if she was going to let this big, busted, bleached blonde bubblehead ruin one of the highlights of her summer. Shaking Summer's presence off like a bad case of fleas, Maggie glanced at her watch and began the countdown. 7, 6, 5. She could feel her crew take their mark. 3, 2, 1. The automatic doors slid open, and the crowd pressed forward. The professionals walked swiftly, but in an orderly fashion. Shoulder to shoulder, the Good Buy girls veered to the left as planned and headed straight for the 8s and 9s. The amateurs, like Summer, bolted into the store, throwing elbows and body-slamming people out of the way until what would have been a fine day of shopping turned into an ultimate fighting cage match. Focus, Maggie ordered. Eyes on the prize. The four of them strode to the shoes. They fanned out by size. Claire and Joanne in the 8s, and Maggie and Ginger in the 9s. Working in teams, they started on the end of the row and worked their way to the middle, stuffing their canvas bags full of the shoes that met their criteria. Maggie was a third of the way in when Summer, looking disheveled, stumbled into her row. As Maggie went to pick up a pair of Jimmy Choo ankle boots, Summer snatched them from her hand. Hey, Maggie snapped. That's rude. I got them first, Summer argued. Maggie, focus, Ginger's voice ordered from behind her. Maggie glanced up. Other shoppers were beginning to crowd into the aisle. She had to work fast. Fine, she said and turned her back on Summer. She reached for a pair of Alberto Fermanis, and Summer snatched those too. What is your problem? I don't have a problem, Summer said. What's yours? What are you, 12? Maggie asked. The crowd was pressing inward. She reached blindly for a pair of plastic pumps, thinking she might hit Summer over the head with them, but Summer grabbed those too. It was obvious that Summer's sole purpose was to ruin Maggie's shopping expedition. Well, Maggie had played this game with other amateurs. Summer was going to lose. Maggie reached for a pair of cheap knockoffs, but Summer snatched them away. While she juggled the 4 pairs of shoes in her arms, Maggie grabbed a pair of Seychelles. And so it went. Maggie faking out Summer with lousy shoes and using her distraction to grab the good ones, until she met Ginger in the middle. We're good? Maggie asked. Good, Ginger confirmed. Let's meet the others. They wound their way past the throng, through a sea of handbags during which Ginger kept her eyes on the floor, to the corner where they always met up. Now it was time to unload their bags and finalize their decisions. They each had managed to snag 7 to 10 pairs of shoes in the correct sizes. Now they would try them on, check the prices, and figure out which ones they would actually buy. If the deal was good enough and no one wanted the shoes, Maggie would buy them anyway and sell them online.